All right. That's good enough start. Hey, morning, guys. It's 10 o'clock. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of the Long Coffee Break. I'm Joshua Legs, sales engineer out of Grand Junction office. With me today, I have Bill Freegee with EasyWater, and today he's going to discuss water quality solutions. We're very excited for this product. So, Bill, all yours, brother.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to go real quick. I founded EasyWater in '86, and we obviously develop and manufacture high-tech water treatment equipment, both for the plumbing and mechanical sides. You're probably familiar with the water treatment landscape in the United States. There are water treatment companies that do just domestic water treatment, just some that do just high purity, ultra high purity. There's chemical companies that do, just chemical treatment of cooling towers, closed loops, et cetera. And then there's filtration water treatment companies. EasyWater actually works with more engineers on more projects than any other water treatment company in the US, primarily because we're the only company that does all four of these. So whatever water using equipment you have in whatever project it is, we can work with you on it. And hopefully by the time we're done, which will be in not very many minutes, you'll think they also have some very innovative solutions for all four of these. So I'm going to obviously go very quickly, starting on the domestic water side. We're one of the largest manufacturers of regular ion exchange salt type softeners, non-skid mounted, skid mounted as well. We developed technology about 30 years ago we call a no salt conditioner. It's technology we use primarily to prevent and remove scale and biofilm. It's part of the way we treat mechanical systems like cooling towers and closed loops. We also use it for certain domestic water applications, utilizes electronic frequencies. So when water passes through this spool piece, sees those vibrations or frequencies, what happens? Well, these are microscope photographs from our lab. These tree branches are calcium carbonate. That's what forms scale in domestic water heaters in the fill of cooling towers. But when they come in contact with those vibrations or frequencies, instead of clinging to your heat exchanger, they cling to each other, form these discs. They can no longer stick in the disc form. And this water, treated water on the right, can actually dissolve existing scale. So you can take a scaled up domestic water heat exchanger, 30 days, 90 days, completely free of scale. Another one, 30 days, 100 days, about 90% clean. Iowa State, horrible water, hard and high pH, 9.4 pH, high-rise dormitory, steamed hot water, domestic water heating, 2 bundle, 6 months with, 6 months without. Sometimes there's no treatment needed. That's how we work with engineers. We look at the water quality, we recommend how to treat the water. Sometimes you don't need to treat it. Sometimes we just use a softener, sometimes just the no salt conditioners, and sometimes both. We have a unique high purity, reverse osmosis system, comes in lots of sizes. One of the unique things about it is the only RO system on the market. You don't have to soften the water before you take it to the RO system. It's also completely controlled and operated by a microprocessor. We'll talk with your customers' building automation system. Comes in lots of different sizes, and we can couple with it all kinds of pre-treatment, DI, electrodeionization, get you any quality water in any quantity that you need, give you CAD Revit drawings, and then we build it. This was, I think, an HDR project, went to a children's hospital in Omaha. We developed what we call a DWP, or domestic water protection system, helps minimize Legionella risk in domestic water. We treat all the water coming into the facility to try to keep the Legionella from coming in, but then more importantly, we take away its home, the scale and biofilm, by treating all the water coming in and treating all the recirc hot water. Comes skid mounted, non-skid mounted, all different sizes, usually just according to the main. So I know I'm going quickly, but just trying to give you a 30,000 foot view of how we work with literally hundreds of engineering firms. Problem water, we do a lot of problem water treatment. What do we call problem water? a well, a private well, reclaim water, pond water, rainwater that maybe you want to get leach points, you want to make it up to a cooling tower, you want to use it to flush toilets, maybe water with lead, heavy metals, too much sediment, too high chlorides. We do a lot of problem water projects. Let's jump into cooling tower treatment. Cooling towers, in my opinion, the most challenging piece of equipment to treat well because of all these problems going on at the same time. CTF is only about a 7-year-old product. We're almost a 40-year-old company, but it's by far our #1 selling product by a long shot. Has its own pump, pulse from the cooling tower system first goes through this sub-micron backwashing filtration system we developed called Sediment Shield. Then the no salt conditioner for scale and biofilm, which you already saw, ultraviolet. Why this sediment shield? Well, for decades, we attempted to keep sumps cleaner using 40 micron sand filters or 75 micron sediment, separators, but we failed miserably because all the particulate larger than 20 microns still settles even with sump sweepers. So we developed a less than 1 micron filtration system, and it's part of CTF. So what's the advantage of CTF to your customers? A whole list, but energy savings, chemical reduction. This is not non-chemical, but it's chemical reduction. Quickly pays for itself, lower bacteria counts, lower Legionella risk, possible water savings, less equipment maintenance, etc., and cleaner basins and sumps. Typically is specified skid mounted for every 1,000 tons. You can see we only treat 5% or 150 of the 3,000 GPM. Quick example, one of many, 8,000 tons of BAC cooling towers, excellent cooling towers. They already had sand filters and sump sweepers, and a very good chemical company. But every year, scaling the fill, scaling the condenser tubes, high bacteria counts, lots of expensive chemicals. Paul Bertonis, the chief engineer, who's still the chief engineer, was unhappy with the results and how much money he was spending. Already had 2 475 gallon per minute pure flux sand filters. He removed these, put in their place 2 of our skid mounted CTF systems, started them up December of 2020, 2-week results. In 2 weeks, water's crystal clear, algae on the fill completely gone, algae in the basin where sunlight hits completely gone in 2 weeks. Why? It's alive, it requires food to live, and we literally starve it. Bacteria count 10 to the 5th, which is typical. Cooling towers operate at 10 to the 4th or 10 to the 5th, but in 13 days, 10 to the 0. So last thing really to talk about, closed loops. Every closed loop system you've ever been involved with, chill, hot, heat pump, has one primary problem: corrosion caused by dissolved oxygen. That problem causes all the other problems. Sometimes I'll ask an end user like a hospital or a manufacturer, so what's your closed loop water look like? Well, it's kind of blackish, rusty color. Well, what is that? It's metal that comes from corrosion caused by dissolved oxygen. So where's all the dissolved oxygen come from in real time? All these places. So you specify a pot feeder. What do they put in that pot feeder? Well, over 95% of all chemically treated closed loops are treated with sodium nitrite. So how does sodium nitrite work? Well, it's corrosive. It's an oxidizer. It attempts to put a protective oxidative barrier on all the steel and copper surfaces to reduce corrosion. It literally uses corrosion to reduce corrosion, a little backwards, frankly, in my opinion. So we developed we looked at this 20-some years ago and said, let's go after the problem, dissolved oxygen. Series C is a side stream closed loop treatment system, pulls from the main header, has its own pump. First, the water gets filtered, then it goes into this tank that contains our dissolved oxygen removal media. That's the key. Minimize the corrosion by getting rid of the dissolved oxygen. Leaves there, goes through the no salt conditioner treatment before to get rid of any deposits and keep new deposits from forming, and then back into the closed loop. It's simply sized by volume of water in the system. 8,000 gallons in the system, a CLG 2000S. How do you know this thing works? With every system we ship out the door, we ship with it a dissolved oxygen test kit made by Chemetrix. Our instructions are simple. Before you start using our system, just measure the dissolved oxygen. You can tell by the shade of blue, it'll be between 3 and 7 ppm. 2 weeks or longer after using Series C, measure it again. The glass sample now will be clear or close to clear, meaning there's little to no dissolved oxygen now, which, as you can imagine, with little to no dissolved oxygen, that means your customer is going to have extremely low corrosion rates. Case in point, a typical heat pump system, open side cooling tower, plate and frame. You can see in the picture, heat pumps on the closed loop side. So they put CTF. So both open and closed had been treated by chemicals for many years, had lots of deposit problems. Put CTF on the cooling tower side in about a month. We got rid of the scale, algae, etc., like I showed you before. On the closed loop side, a backwashing style Series C. Look what's going down the drain with the backwash water. That's metal that we're literally removing high iron content deposits from all the coaxial heat exchangers, etc. Dissolved oxygen before, you can see by the shade of blue between 5 and 6. After, the glass ampule's clear, meaning there's little to no dissolved oxygen. Here's the latest coupons, corrosion coupons from the laboratory as of June of 22. What would your customers love to see as far as annual corrosion rate for carbon steel and copper? Well, for carbon steel, what's excellent but rarely achieved, 0.2 mils per year less. We're about half of that, 0.1155. How about copper? Your customers would love to see 0.1 mils per year or less. We're about a third of that. Bottom line, there's only two choices for treating closed loops. There's chemicals or there's Series C. No other product says if you use our whatever, Spirotherm or whatever, you don't have to use chemicals. And here's how we save energy. These are what insulating high iron content deposits look like in a closed loop. They're insulators. We keep these from forming and we remove existing ones, which when they're in heat exchangers change a lot. They use a lot of energy. These ones on the right are from Tallahassee Community, 64 thousandths of an inch. That's off the energy loss chart that only goes up to 36 thousandths of an inch, which costs your customer 27%. So to wrap up, if you go to we would love to work with you all. And you know, if you want more information, obviously you can set up a lunch and learn or whatever. But if you go to our website, there's product sizing forms for each application. Go to the commercial side, click applications or click products. You'll see for every product, there's a very simple one-page product sizing form. There's also return on investment forms that will show how quickly our cooling tower and closed loop treatment pay for themselves. So bottom line, if you would like to work with us, we don't need a sample of water. We have a huge data bank of water quality across the country. Give us the address of the project. We will know the water quality. As long as it's not a private well, then you have to send us a sample. Give us the address of the project, then fill out those sizing forms for all the water using equipment, both on the plumbing side and HVAC sides. Send us cut sheets of all the water using equipment, chillers, cooling towers, everything. And then we, through our rep, through Long, will begin sending you very quickly CAD Revit drawings, PNIDs, installation drawings, specs, budget pricing. We work with hundreds of engineers because we save them a lot of time and their customers love the results. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Really appreciate the time. As usual, guys, if you need any lunch and learns, more information on this product or products, feel free to reach out to your Long sales rep. Please join us next week with Chris Visconti. He's going to be discussing commercial leak detection to protect customer assets. So Thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice weekend.